Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season 1 finale of Mission Yozakura Family. A great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're immediately picking up where the last episode left off, and it's like, was it Operation They're performing their formation, Sakura Roots, and it basically has Taiyo at the center of it. And I love it just being a culmination of everyone attacking. Like, it's just like, right, he thinks like, okay, you guys are just attacking me separately, like, what can you really do? But then you find out it's a culmination of everyone. It was Taiyo is hidden inside of Shinzo's turmeric. Kingo disguised it as a rock. Futaba has sent all these other rocks flying around to the skies, like to hide, this special rock amongst them. Plus, this attack has also been hit by Futaba. It's also being, thrown along by Kiyoshiro's wires, Shion's calculations, and Nano's, new stuff to enhance Taiyo's body. With the whole situation, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful culmination of all the Yozakura siblings attacks coming together with Taiyo at the center. And the reason why it's called the Sakura Roots is because it's meant to be used against anything that might be buried underground, like a bunker. And so Taiyo is being sent through the ground because that's what Taiyo recognized last episode, and he kind of informed Kiyoshiro about, is that there's something that's connected to all of Kawashida's power that's down below, and they found the root of it, and it turns out that root is Rei, their mother, the ninth head of the Yosakuras. And basically from her body there's all these threads. They're sewed from Somenin, and he's basically having all, because it turns out the Yosakuras, even when their bodies die, their bodies never stop producing Somenin. Like, their blood is still valuable, and so all that's being fed into him, that's allowing him to make the Hasakura, he's controlling it, and kind of it's the root of his plan of being able to harness it in the way that he's doing for his explosion to spread it out into the ocean. But it's if you cut the threads in any shape or form, it's going to set off a set of explosions that will not only kill you, Taiyo, but it will also destroy Rei's body, which that's the whole point of this mission. But even then, even with the odds stacked against him, Taiyo still reaches out. And I love it all coming full circle. Because it's I've constantly, everything I've been through over the course of this series, I've always pushed myself beyond my limits, and I can, because as long as I have Mitsumi by my side, and she'll always be by my side, then I got this. But it's like I said, it coming full circle with him grabbing Kishiro's lines at the first episode when he was grabbing the ring. So I just love that coming full circle, and that making this moment so powerful. And in that moment, he yanks the thread, sets off the explosions, but because of his blooming, which is hardening, it's it's not perfect for not really meant for upfront attacks and stuff, but because of it, it makes it a very special case where Taiyo's circumstances, his hardening, has a very special attack that it's kind of utilized for, and it's a situation like this. So he was able to not only do that, but he was able to protect Rei's body. And because of that, the Kawashida's body is breaking down. It's all right, I got to do my last ditch effort. But I love Futaba coming over and sealing in the explosion. Nano purifying the Hasakura. Kingo using his what was it called? Assimilation. Is that was his blooming? Shinzo is shrinking him in bit by bit to make his body smaller. And then you also have Kiyoshiro basically making a very all these micro threads on the inside meant to connect and attack and permeate all his cells. And then finally you have Taiyo rising up with the final strike. But as this is happening, we see that Kawashida is communicating with Tsubomi, so it's she's still alive. And as we get a little peek at her circumstances have escalated even more over the years, and so we already saw in the past, like over 100 years ago, that she had her blooming was manifesting in the form of those flowers on her, and it seems like she's full blown turned into a tree. So I wonder what. Well, once again, her circumstances are different because she is the first of the Yozakura heads, so we don't know, like, it doesn't, to our knowledge, which we don't know that much about the other Yosakuras. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of similar to the maybe it was this that I kind of kept. I think this series in particular I kept drawing parallels to Katekyo Hitman Reborn, because like I always read it one way, and it's been so long since I saw the anime, so I don't remember how it's pronounced. But the Vongula family that Suna's supposed to be like the new boss of. Is it the Vongula or Vongula? I always say Vongula, but I don't remember if I'm mispronouncing. Either way, you didn't really get to know about a lot of the heads. There's only one head in particular of the family you really got to focus on. Either way, it's kind of a similar thing, I guess. Different circumstances, but like, yeah, it's interesting to see that Tsubomi is still alive, and even saying that, this information you'll gather, your research, your way of handling things didn't work out. But he's like, yeah, but I had fun along the way and just being able to experience what I experienced. And so she's like, right, I'll make sure he gets what he needs. So it wasn't, once again, Tampopo was not going to be the end all be all, because as Kawashita had brought up previously on the train, like a couple episodes back, quite a few episodes back, when he was talking about Momo, he's like, Momo's got this person's attention, and Kawashita was kind of jealous of that. So once again, Tampopo, I guess it all ends with Tampopo, but there is another organization, or at least someone else, that Tampopo was an extension of. Now, I don't know if this person is like, whether that, and that's a point of contention I kept bringing up previously. I don't know if this other unknown person, player in this game, whether or not they are like Tampopo is their organization. I mean, I guess it'd be kind of similar. Like, what I'm trying to say is, I wonder if you're familiar with Naruto in particular, I wonder is this a Madara situation where it's like, Madara was secretly a part of the Akatsuki, but the Akatsuki was kind of like his means to an end. They served a purpose. They were an organization on their own, but they operated in the shadows of someone else operated beyond that. And that was like Madara and Akatsuki. I'm wondering if this person has a similar relationship to Tampopo, and it feels like that's the case. I don't think it's going to be Tampopo is going to continue on. It's now nipped in the bud. All of Tampopo is going now. The Kawashita's fallen, so. But it's them saying goodbye, and it's like, well, he's not dead. He's locked up, but it's like with him locked up, it's like, well, we'll never be able to see each other. And I don't know if it's like only in this heightened moment is she able to communicate with him so far away. And maybe in this moment with everything going on, it damages his body in the long run. And because of that, like, he's no longer able to communicate with her. Like, he's lost. I don't know if it strips him of the Yozakura blood that was in him with everything going on or what. Like, her saying goodbye. Like, yeah, I don't think that was just like, I'm speaking you to the afterlife. I think this is like a real life moment. Either like she is a full tree and that was just a semblance of her talking to him, or it is a thing of like she's still in that state and conscious enough, even in her tree-like state. I am curious about Kawashita. I cannot remember Home Dude's name. He was like the main antagonist of one of Katekyo Hitman Reborn's arcs. I mean, I guess technically at least two antagonists of those arcs became like future allies to Suna and his family. But there was like one major bad guy that kind of seemed like he died, but then like he comes back later on. So that's why I'm like, and he kind of helps out. And it was something with a B. I don't think it was like Byakuya. I don't think it was, but I could be mistaken. It was something with a B. I remember him being kind of like a white/silver-haired character. If you know who I'm talking about, you know, I'm kind of spoiling Katekyo Hitman Reborn, so I'm sorry. But I'm like, I wonder if Kawashita is going to pop up later on in the story as like a potential ally. But yeah, turning former enemies into allies is, you know, I mean, stories like that kind of pop up all the time, so I could definitely see that being a thing of, yeah, he did some terrible stuff, but he can try and make amends for it. I don't know. We'll see where things kind of potentially go from there. Like I said, he's not dead, he's just locked up, so. But overall, the mission was a success. It all worked out, and you're kind of like, yeah. But that's not all. Even I was surprised. I was like, wow, we still haven't seen Momo, but it's like, oh, Bond's got that coverage because she shows up and he's like, okay, you're going to leave, right? He's like, your job was never here to interfere. It was always meant to be observed, which, you know, it's like speaking, like talking about Trails and Kaseki is like, oh, that's a very Ouroboros thing of you to do, which I'm sure there's parallels you could probably draw to whoever he's working with. I'm sure there are probably parallels you can draw to the Grandmaster from the Trail/Kaseki series. But either way, I love that it's just Bond being like, oh, like, you have Rey's heart. He's like, just give it over. He's like, I can't. You know, this is kind of between me and Rey, so me having her heart, it's only right. He's like, oh, I can't really argue with that. He was like, yeah, right. You think I'm really going to let you go? And fires his bullet. And luckily, well, not luckily, but Momo was able to stop it. But I love the effect of, like, yeah, like, even though he stopped it, the ripple effect of the bullets, the weight of it, still sent shockwaves through the water. And he's like, yeah, like, even my blooming situation was barely able, couldn't even stop all of the bullet. And he's just kind of, like, fades into petals. So we don't know the full extent of his blooming. We know he can do the whole thing, like, kind of hit you with, like you're being shot by multiple bullets. But even then, we don't know the full. I mean, maybe his blooming is kind of closer to Bond's, because we don't know if any of the bloomings of the current Yosakuras or previous Yosakuras, if there's any overlap, or is everyone's Yosakura super unique to them. So, like, has there been any other ones, like, you know, we actually never, and I was also surprised by this, we never actually got to see what Kiyoshiro's blooming is. Because, you know, once again, that's always the thing with character archetypes like that, when it's like their eyes are always closed. I want to say Brock from Pokemon was the first character I've ever seen to do that, but, like, you think of someone like, was it Gen from Bleach? Like, always that thing of, like, right, they've kind of got that, like, that, it's supposed to be kind of like that fox quality to them, that slyness, but it's like, I'm sure, like, it's going to be a big deal when he finally opens his eyes and you see his blooming and stuff like that. But either way, not unless he ends up having, like, we end up finding out, like, they probably won't do this, but it'd be interesting if you find out, like, oh, the reason why he keeps his eyes closed is, like, no, it's not just, like, a jokey characteristic. It's like, he keeps his eyes closed because maybe his blooming is always activated type of thing. Kind of like how Kakashi has, like, you know, with, I was about to spoil it. His shotting gun is always activated, so he keeps his bandana to cover it up. So he kind of semi-deactivates it that way, even though it's still always active. I'm wondering if it's kind of a similar thing. Once again, I'm super overthinking it. It'll probably be a thing of, no, that's just his characteristic, but the time will come when he opens his eyes when he's activating his blooming. So I think it's interesting, like, he's the only one we never saw activate his blooming, because he's the only one that didn't have to really go all out during this. And none of them probably really had to, but just a surefire win, make sure, like, right, this operation's too important, we have to go out. Shinzo in particular was like, no, I need to go all out. But it's like, yeah, like, Kiyoshiro is the only one that kind of walked away not wounded, but also just not the one who, he didn't have to put in as much effort as the others. And I guess that's kind of maybe, probably won't be until later points in the story when that potentially happens. Either way, I'm not harping on it, but I just thought that was such an interesting little detail, so. But at the end of the day, the operation was a success. Those who worked with Kawashita, some were hidden, like we saw, like, what's the guy's name? I think it's Kurosawa, the shadow dude. We see him kind of being held somewhere, and I don't know if that fully means that Rin and her group are going to fully be looking after her, but it's like, until, like, we can, you know, their extenuating circumstances and any charges against them can be filed out, like, we gotta wait for reports. But basically, different groups, the Spy Association, Rin's Association, Hinigaku, like, are all, like, keeping an eye on the respective people that are still alive. It would be interesting if I joined them, Ren and them, which, I mean, their whole group is, I mean, we might end up finding out that a lot of the people that were with Kawashita ended up there. I mean, who knows how many of the other people that we never met who are test subjects might end up there too, because that was the whole point of that group, is like, yeah, to look after those who, and some of them might decide to join. Like, we might see Ai and some of the other people like her that we met working for Kawashita who might join forces with Ren and them, and maybe some of the other test subjects will, maybe they won't. We'll have to wait to see, but I think that's just kind of an interesting thing, and I'm sure that's probably a potential future storyline. But other than that, we catch up with Mitsumi finding Taiyo at at her mother's grave, and him like picking up the weeds, and she tries to scare him. He's like, "I'm sorry, Mitsumi, but I clocked you like 100 meters away," and she's so proud. She's like, "That's my spy. Like, look at my husband. Look at how great you've become." But he's like, "Yeah, I didn't really know what else I could really do," but he like left a flower, and she's like, "No, that's perfect. It's like that particular flower is not only my mom's favorite, it's also mine." But then she's also like, "Yeah, but I'm also a little irritated that you and Kishiro kept the whole retrieving mom's body from us," and Futaba laid into him for that. For her, it's like because of the whole Yozakura blood thing never stops. She's like, because of that, I can touch the ground and I can feel my mom, you know? So it's like she's able to rest in peace here, and she might be gone, but it's like she's always here with me, and I can always feel her if I come here. So it's like, right, got to go to your parents' grave along with your brothers to like, you know, pay my respects to them as well. So, and it just, once again, just the little moments between them is so cute. So the next part of the episode involves the reception, which it all kind of gets thrown at. Taiyo just wakes up, sees Mitsumi in a dress, wedding dress, and is like, "Wait, what's going on?" Everyone's already dressed to the nine. I love Kingo just grabbing his clothes, ripping them off. "Oh, you're in a suit." So the reception happens every time, like it's time, like people from the underworld all across the board, allies, enemies, all have to gather because it's up to the Yozakura head as well as her husband to meet with the respective people, you know, just to kind of like, everyone kind of pays their respects to the Yozakura family with the new circumstances. And it's like, well, after completing such a big mission and everyone's schedules lining up, yeah, everyone kind of has to like, you know, this is kind of like, that's why it had to be a spur of the moment thing, because it's like, well, a lot of people are busy and this has to be like a grand opportune time, especially with their such a massive mission just having been undertook. So, but I love like, oh, they get visited by the oldest spy, and I figured there was gonna be something extra to him, but I wasn't. I love the twist where it's just like, okay, he's coming with the flowers, and luckily Taiyo dodges the spike, but it turns out, oh no, it's just Bon and Keiko like being like, oh my god, how long has it been since we've been in disguise? It's like, oh, we kind of had to show up and show out for the reception and everything, so because it turns out the reception's biggest thing too is it's about the groom has to survive the onslaught just to prove that you can protect the head of the family. So he's like, yeah, it's like, oh, if you could have killed Momo back then, it's like, oh, and during him and Ray's wedding, it's like, yeah, I probably would have saved us all this trouble. And they're laughing and joking about it. Taiyo was like, what the? It's like the crazy family he's a part of now. And especially Kishiro being so excited about like, oh yeah, I get to torture you. And it's like, oh yeah, I have this tie on. He's like, traditionally, like we don't wear ties here because I always associate with funerals. But he's like, it's not like I'm wearing it just to rub it in your face that you're actually going to die, because I don't want you to die. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because I do. But then it's a family video that plays. It's of Ray. She made this years ago when the kids were still little, in case for Mitsumi's wedding, and it's just so beautiful. And apparently, Kishiro is the only one who didn't know about it. I don't know if the others did, but Futaba was meant to safe keep it. So, and it's playing, and it's her, you know, talking about her kids, because she knows immediately like Kishiro is going to be causing a ruckus. It's like, yeah, Rei knows her children so well. And she's telling Mitsumi like, I'm sad I can't be there, but this is for that day. I know it's going to be a beautiful day. And also talking to Taiyo is like, whoever the husband is, look after my daughter and protect her, you know? Because in that moment, considering everything, Taiyo was like, I don't know what to be able to say. I mean, it's kind of a beautiful thing that Mitsumi has this from her mom. That's not just the memories, but even having this, you know, that her mom planned this that well in advance. Because even she said, because even Taiyo was like, oh, she's talking about this dark, heavy stuff so nonchalant. Because she's like, yeah, Momo almost died recently. So she's like, there's always a chance my time might be limited too. You know? I mean, you kind of have to accept that in the world that they're in, but Taiyo grabbing her hand and saying like, you know, being there by her side, and it's just like, it's just like, once again, lover, like sucker for good romance and love. I love their relationship and just the little moments they have. So Kishiro is being held back by the others, and in that moment, everyone at the reception is pulling out their guns because they have to fire bullets at them, because that's part of the whole thing. But it's like, don't worry, the rest of the family is going to protect us. So Keiko and Bon, as well as the Yozakura siblings, are all there, like blocking the bullets for them, and it's just a beautiful thing as they enter the next chapter of their lives. And I love that it's like the ending gets to play. I think we get most of it because I have heard the full song of the ending recently, but it's like it's such a good song, and especially with like the traditional ending, and the final shot of it is the ending of the ending normally, and it's just like the wedding photo and everyone's there, so it's like it's so befitting of like, okay, so that's where it comes into play, because it's like literally from their actual wedding. It's kind of nice that they get to like have one, even though like, yeah, they've always been married ever since Tayo put on the ring, and it was official ever since then. But it's kind of nice to actually have an actual wedding reception and stuff like that. Yes, it serves a greater purpose, but it's still kind of neat that they get to have it. I figured they would. I wasn't expecting it to like mean as much as it does. It have an extra layer of meaning to it, but I knew it would have a sentimental meaning. So there's layer. It has both the grander scheme in the spy world or what it means, but also just the like emotional meaning of it too, of like the unions, and like I said, also like the video from their mom. So it's just beautiful all around. I did forget to talk about something too when Mutsumi and Tayo were at her mom's grave. He had said like, right, I never got answers about your dad's circumstances, but he's like, I promise you, I'm still going to keep that promise. Just wait for me one day to find out about that. Because to be fair, they didn't. The only person that ran into him was Bon, and so, but it's on Tayo, because Tayo's going to be like, I don't want anyone else to get the answers. It's up to me. I made that promise, and I'm gonna see it through for Mutsumi. And she's like, no, I trust you. I know you will. So, just a beautiful just ending to it all, and just like the ending, it almost feels like your video game ending, where it's just like, oh, here's some screenshots and stuff from like the game and stuff like it. I love those type of endings of like scenes and stuff from over the course of the story. So so I talked about this last episode. I know that there is plenty more of the manga, because I believe at the time of recording, the manga is still ongoing, but it is in its final arc. I don't know how close it's come to ending, but it is at least in its final arc. And so, like, the news came out today that Mission Yozakura Family is getting a second season, which I love. Like, I think that's always dope when the timing comes out. Like, oh, just when the season finale drops, we also dropped the news of, yep, it's getting a second season. So, once again, plenty of story to tell. Someone would have to correct me who's more familiar with the manga. I'd say currently we're probably, this first season's covered maybe a fifth to a fourth of the manga story. Someone can correct me, like I said, because when I'm looking up the episode titles, I think you could look on Wikia, where there's a Wikia page, set of pages, and you look at the episodes, it tells you like what chapters this covers. So like, I know some of the more recent episodes were in the 80s, so I don't know where it is chapter wise currently. I want to say it's in the like late 200s, if not like almost pushing on 300s, if it hasn't already hit there. So that's why I'm like, maybe we're at like maybe a fifth to a fourth. I'm really leaning more to a fourth of the story's been covered by the anime, but like I said, my percentages could be off. So anyone that's more well versed can correct me. But like, I'm so excited. Because like I said, I talked about it last episode. I knew there was more story because I know where the manga is like lengthwise, so I knew like there was still more story to cover. But this could have easily been one of those series where like the anime just doesn't cover the entire manga story. So, because I talked about this too. Like, I know that the manga, a lot of it, not all of it, but a good chunk of it is just slice of a life adventures. So. I don't know how much of that's been adapted so far and how much has been skipped over or included in the anime. But either way, I really love this series, and I'm so excited to get to see more of it, to see where things kind of go with this arc being done. So I'm curious if the second season is going to be just as long too, like as like a 20-some episode arc. I mean, 20-some episode season like this will be shorter, the same length, or what. But I'm just excited for more Yozakura Family, and excited to see where the Yozakuras go from here. Find out more about who Momo is working for, all that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.